So much that was on my credit, so much that was on her.
I would say 70%.
So it was almost 100%. We would have loved everything to be a perfect world, but we're definitely still processes and things. Not do this up.
It's really good. For that, more was 2018, which is really bad. Right now, and then as you can go, I need to
We had left from the Friday before. I asked for Vivix to get 49 critical, but we did it.
So you want like some coffee?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Everybody? Okay, great. Okay, perfect.
from 614 all the way to 794. It's made it possible for me to open up 2 new credit card accounts. And the cars come next. So I really appreciate that. Thanks.
I went from a 603 credit score to basically 670, 680. I'm real happy with that considering I was in such financial stress.
Mine was almost, they clear up 24 out of 30. And my score is almost 700, which is pretty good. I just have to keep up my payments, and we will recommend people we know because it's really hard nowadays to trust companies. But they say in what they do, so it's pretty good for us.
My experience has been 100%. I've gotten the best treatment from the team, and I'm very happy with the results.
It has changed to the point now that I feel better in the way that they respond quickly by email, by phone, and that's something that normally none of other companies will probably do for you. But I'm so proud of it that I came up basically to this location, and I feel that if it's not a job, it's been phenomenal doing what they have to do. Again, I would highly recommend them to other, hopefully, customers that are walking in. They're pretty much like they change. And again, thanks for helping me, and I feel much better every day every time I process.
I had 117 things on my credit. They were able to remove 89 of them. I increased my credit over 90 points. So now with my credit, now I can go buy the house I want to always buy.
All of my scores were in the 400s, and then I'm up to 644, and we're still working on it, and they have taken care of 72% of my collection items, and when it comes to items, very happy, very excited. A great company, they're also very polite, professional, and they treat you wonderful.
I need just sugar. I think we forgot to get the cream.
It's 46 out of 64 hours.
Let me see.
As far as my results go, I'm definitely very pleased. Out of all the items that I gave you, they were able to get so I'm definitely very happy with it to the point where I'm planning to do another round to see if they can do more magic for me. As far as the additional elements of their company, the credit coaching was also very helpful. Understanding exactly how to manage your debt and your credit and where the ratios need to be and the percentages need to be and the best ways to basically achieve better credit. So I'm definitely very impressed with that to other customers.
I mean, I feel great. I came here months ago with a lot of derogatory notations on my credit history. About 51 of them and 42 of them have been removed. So Doc's office
I believe so. Let me go check for you.
and I have a much clearer record, and scores have improved, and they gave me a lot of also a lot of advices on how to build my credit and how to manage it so that I can maintain a very good credit.
This day was 700, and so we're getting 5,000. Things like that. So right now, it's just a waiting game. Everything hands out and has time.
Handles it very well, very professionally. Just contact me, make sure.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let's get started. How you doing? Good to see you. Well, yeah, to see you. All right. We were expecting 25 people, 50 people signed up on our Eventbrite site, and normally you get 50% to show. So we're giving you a little bit more time, but you know, this is Las Vegas, so I'm still going to give you all I got. And at the end, you can ask any questions you want, all right? I want to try something new today. If you hear something that you haven't heard before, I want you to say breakthrough. Can you do that? Breakthrough. Yeah, breakthrough. If you hear something you haven't heard before, or if you hear something that you really think will help you, say breakthrough, because that'll give me some clues on what areas I can improve on the workshop, okay? Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take you to a video that was created about 2 years ago by 60 Minutes. We're going to watch that and then we're going to go right into the workshop. But let's just start with the titling. It's Discredit to A+ Credit. I named it that because I felt discredited when I had challenged credit. A lot of people say bad credit. I say challenged credit. I felt that everywhere I went, I was discredited. I couldn't get approved for credit cards, a mortgage, auto loans, certain jobs I couldn't work at, like the bank. And I felt discredited. Even though I'm educated, I have a degree in finance, a master's in business, my credit was still dictating my life. So Discredit to A+ Credit is the name of the workshop. Potentially less denials and more approvals. That's all that you all are here for. That's it. Some of you are here for your clients, some of you are here for yourselves, and some of you are here for your family members. But essentially, all we want is less denials and more approvals. This is the video of 60 Minutes.
We live in an age where much of what goes on in our daily lives is monitored,
It isn't that very long.
sold to interested parties. Our driving records, our medical history, our internet traffic, and most importantly, our credit information. A mistake on your credit report can cost you money. It can increase the interest you pay on your loans, prevent you from getting a mortgage or buying a car, landing a job, or getting a security clearance. It's not uncommon. A new government study to be released tomorrow indicates as many as 40 million Americans have a mistake on their credit report. 20 million have significant mistakes.
Now, one caveat there. It was 79% of everyone in all three bureaus, according to the federal government, when they created the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, to give power back to the consumers because the collection agencies and the creditors and the credit bureaus were taking advantage of the consumers. All right, so it's a little bit higher than that.
Of the credit reporting industry shows that those mistakes can be nearly impossible to get removed from your record.
The story will continue in a moment. Consumer credit reporting is a $4 billion a year industry dominated by three large companies, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. They keep files on 200 million Americans and traffic in our financial reputations. They make their money gathering information from people we do business with and selling it to banks, merchants, insurance companies, and employers. And they use it to make judgments about our creditworthiness and reliability. But now the reliability of the industry is being questioned in an 8-year Federal Trade Commission study to be released tomorrow. John Leibowitz is the chairman.
Here's what we found. Some pretty troubling information. 1 out of 5 Americans has an error on their credit report. And 1 out of 10 has an error on their credit report that might lower their credit score.
I'm trying to think of another industry where a 20% error rate would be acceptable. That's a pretty high error rate.
It's a pretty high error rate.
I think the more we look at this, and the more the American people know about this, the madder they're going to get.
Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine has opened his own investigation into the credit reporting industry, which for years has blamed mistakes on banks and merchants that provide them with bad information. But DeWine argues the fault lies with the industry for what he says are clear violations of the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Do these companies have a legal responsibility to make sure that the information is accurate?
The federal law says that if you believe that there is a mistake, you can go to them and they have an obligation to do a reasonable investigation. They're not doing a reasonable investigation. They're not doing an investigation at all.
Every day, DeWine's office fields calls from desperate constituents who can't get the credit reporting agencies to answer their questions or correct mistakes on their report, like paid bills listed as delinquent.
That's all they have to do.
But as we discovered, that almost never happens.
If you challenge a credit report and mail your information to a post office box in the United States, the dispute will likely be investigated in India or the Philippines or South America. We traveled 5,000 miles to the Chilean capital of Santiago, where we tracked down 3 former Experian employees.
Now listen to what the employees say.
Carolina Herrera, Rodolfo Carrasco, and Enzo Valdivia were all dispute agents at Experian's National Consumer Assistance Center, although they say they weren't able to offer consumers much assistance.
So if somebody had a problem with their credit report, they would send in a complaint and it would end up with you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So how many of these did you have to do a day?
90.
90.
Did you consider yourself investigators?
No.
Did you have any way to investigate these claims?
No. You can call.
Remember, there's 8 million disputes every year, but they're only doing 90 a day. So there's it's not enough. It's too many for one person to handle, but it's not enough people working in the bureau to handle everyone's complaints.
There's only 3 of them, isn't it, right?
I pick up the
3 bureaus, but about 5,000 people in each bureau.
Did you email them? No. Did you have the authority to say, wait a minute, after looking at somebody's file and say that, this is somebody made a mistake, this person doesn't owe this money?
We didn't have that power.
All they did was read the disputes and reduce them to a 2-digit code like never late or not mine. It was then sent with a...
That 2-digit code is from an e-Oscar machine. The e-Oscar machine is an electronic transmitter of the 2-digit codes between the credit bureaus and the creditors. And that's how they update your files, about 26 2-digit codes. So all of the supporting documentation that you send, that isn't seen. That is something that is drilled down to a 2-digit code.
And no documentation back to the bank or department store that furnished the original information.
If there was a difference of opinion between the creditor and the person who was filing the complaint, how was it usually resolved in favor of the creditor?
Yeah. The creditor was always right. Mostly we took for granted the word of the bank. If the bank said, hey, this guy owns $100, so it is.
None of us have ever interviewed anybody in Chile from Experian, and we've got a federal court ordering them to bring these people forward, and we're still waiting.
Much of what's known about the inner workings of the consumer credit agencies come out of lawsuits filed by Len Bennett and Sylvia Goldsmith, who have subpoenaed company records and deposed employees and executives. They say under the current system, there is no way for people like Judy Thomas to get their problem solved.
So all these people who take the time to meticulously document a case that the bill isn't theirs or the bill has been paid, that is never seen by anybody?
It's not seen by anyone who considers it in determining whether or not information will be removed from a credit report.
It's not forwarded on to the person who has the complaint with you?
No, it's never forwarded on. Never forwarded on to the creditor.
We can get a jury verdict for $1 million. That's chump change to some of these bureaus. They would rather pay a verdict in $1 million than to actually go in and change the policies and procedures that they have, because that's much more expensive to them.
Yes. I can say this without qualification. The dispute procedures used by the credit reporting agencies, uniformly used, completely fail to comply with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Courts have found that, the Federal Trade Commission has found that. It's not even a close call.
Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine agreed.
I think the industry is a mess. And I think the impact it has on real people is just unconscionable.
All right, so you get the gist. Now let me recap for you. 1 out of 5 Americans have errors on their credit reports when it's really 8 out of 10. 7 out of 10 have errors that might lower their credit scores. 8 million people file disputes every year. The call centers are located out of the country. You saw some of the people in Chile. The credit reports that are sent to the consumers are different than the credit reports that the lenders see. The credit reports that you get, they're not actually credit reports, they're consumer reports. That's something that comes from the credit bureau when you're not applying for credit. A credit report is when you're applying for credit, and those are the reports that they keep secret. They don't want you to see those. A car dealership is illegal for them to give you a copy of your report that they pulled and used to decline you in the decision for a purchase.
Why is that illegal?
Because they don't want to share that information unless you buy it from the credit bureaus.
Oh, okay.
You see that? So if you're pulling it and giving it to the citizen, and the citizen isn't buying the reports, right?
A lot of money.
You're right. And so they don't want that information shared. You see that the banker didn't share it, the mortgage banker left the room, and the lady, the client, looked at her report, okay? That was a time when they wouldn't even let you see the report, okay? The disputes are investigated outside the United States. The dispute agents are not able to call or email the consumer to ask questions about their disputes. You heard that. The disputes are reduced to a 2 or 3-digit code. They added some additional digits to create some more codes. The credit bureaus side with the creditors, all right, not the consumers. And then the dispute procedure used by the credit bureaus failed to comply with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You heard the Attorney General say that. All right. Now, these are some of the costs that many people feel are related to having challenged credit. Loss of employment. Did you know that union workers and casino employees are losing their jobs because of challenged credit? Yeah. At their performance review, they're reviewing your credit, and you are an exposure to them because of challenged credit. You could be a security risk. Okay? Union workers and casinos. Did you know State Farm requires you to have a 620 credit score to maintain a job with State Farm? A 620. If you fall below that and your performance review comes up, they'll put you on suspension, or they tell you you need to go out and work on your credit challenges. You have higher interest rates on home loans. Of course, we all know that. Higher interest rate on auto loans. We all know that you're going to get higher insurance rates, right? They pull your credit for that. Okay? Denied for startup loans for businesses. People that want to start businesses, they can't get loans. Credit card cancellations. If you have some challenges with one credit card where you may default on it, another bank will start closing your accounts because of the default on a credit card that wasn't even with them. All right, credit limit reductions. All right, the inability to refinance your mortgage. Remember she said she couldn't refinance her house? And then some business owners require a bond. You can't obtain a bond for your business or yourself if you have challenged credit. All right? Now, let's look at some financial challenges that you'll have. How much more money will it cost you for a car that you paid for $20,000 in 60 months? If you have challenged credit, it could cost you an additional $8,500 for that car over the life of the loan. So that's almost 50%. All right? Look at the mortgage. A $100,000 mortgage over 30 years with challenged credit will cost you an additional $130,000.
That's what I was trying to get my son to say.
Yes,
about bad credit.
Yes, sir.
It's going to cost you, well, I can go out and say, I paid like 2.5%.
Yes, sir.
He's paying 17% because I'm not co-signing for nobody.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Bad credit.
It will cost you everywhere. Your job, your loans, everything you do. Okay? Now, this is our guarantee. I'm going to tell you the end result before we go through the entire 85 minutes that are left. The end result of our services is what our clients say. This isn't what we have said, but virtually all of our clients receive 50 to 250 points in 120 days of completing our program. The second guarantee is virtually all of our clients say they receive 50 to 90% deletions in 120 days. So our program is only 4 months. And these are the results that they're seeing on their credit reports.
Motorcycle loan, student loan, and
from a 614 all the way to a 794. Had 117 things on my credit. They were able to remove 89 of them.
I actually just got approved for a car.
For 72% of my collection items and wipe those on my accounts.
So I have 70% of my negative accounts deleted.
249 points increase.
And then 113.3.
And now they deleted 122, so that's like 90% of my bad credit.
85% of the credit is just bad credit deleted.
They're just caught up and take it on.
You were able to take 50% of all my inquiries and have them deleted.
Bank sheets, charges off, negative stuff on that, things they removed 80% of negative activity that was on my credit.
Three ways to explain its credit. And my book manager has been deleted forever. And I'm so happy.
She's excited about a foreclosure that we got deleted in 3 weeks for her. But some of those numbers that you heard, you probably didn't even register them. One lady said she had 122 negative accounts deleted. One gentleman, he was the CEO of one of the major casinos. He said he had 89 negative accounts deleted. Another gentleman said his bankruptcies, his foreclosures were deleted. And some companies don't even work on inquiries. And the young lady said she got 50% of her inquiries deleted. She had over 100 inquiries. Okay, so these are major numbers. All right. Now let me give you a disclaimer, because as I go on in this talk with you, I'm going to be using some legalese. I'm not an attorney. All right. So I have to say that I'm not an attorney, and I have to say that everything that I'm going to say here is my expert opinion. All right. That's a disclaimer that I must use. Okay. Now let's talk about our company credentials. There were 72 companies in 2006 when this company was started here, Vivix Credit Solutions. There were 72 companies on the internet holding themselves out to be credit repair companies. 72. There were only 52 of them that were actually licensed and bonded to do credit repair. There's now 51 companies on the internet that are holding themselves out to be credit repair companies, and only 22 are legally licensed and bonded. 11 of those 22 have an office here in the city of Las Vegas. The other 11 have a foreign license registration and a website here. That's it. So you only have 11 choices to get credit repair done here in the state of Nevada. 11. So if you're talking to multiple companies, it's a small list. The other companies are holding themselves out to do credit repair. And I want to also offer another caveat here. If you're looking at credit repair based on the price of the service, you're looking at it the wrong way. You're looking at it the wrong way. Because you're giving your driver's license, your social security card, and your proof of address. Those three things complete your identity. You're actually giving your identity to someone to help you. All right? And your identity on the black market is worth tens of thousands. Especially with the copy of the social security card and the copy of the driver's license together. All right? So that's huge. So be careful about these companies that spring up, want to charge you $39 a month to change your life, and they don't do anything, and you don't complain because it's only $39, but you don't recall that you gave them your driver's license and your social security card and proof of where you live and all of your information about where you work. That's worth tens of thousands of dollars. Okay? You must be licensed to do this, and our credit service organization license, everyone has to have one of these licenses to do credit repair. Ours ends in .255 is at the top. We're bonded, and our bond is held with the Mortgage Lending Division. Everyone in our office is FICO certified. We're a FICO Pro. That's a certification that you take on through FICO. We're a member of the National Association of Credit Service Organizations. That's important. That's a consumer advocacy group that's comprised of credit law firms that want to see the credit repair companies that are not ethical run out of business. So they have gotten together to say, hey, anyone that's a part of our association, we will put a stamp on your credit repair company, and anyone that's not, we're going to make sure that you're not doing unethical business if you're not a member of the National Association of Credit Service Organizations. We are a member. We're accredited with the Better Business Bureau. We're a member of the Ethical Credit Repair Alliance. We're also partnered with the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors. So many realtors heard about our services that they started coming to our office, and then the word got around at the GOVAR. They sent us a letter asking us to partner with them in 2011. And then we started doing talks to the GOVAR, and they started referring all of the realtors and the realtors' clients over to our office. We're also...
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
You're going a little quick. You said the Clark County Education Association is partners with?
Yes, I didn't get that far yet. Yes, I was just at the Ethical Credit Repair Alliance and the GOVAR, and now Clark County Education Association. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And what we did was we were doing some workshops, financial literacy workshops at Clark County schools. Okay, and the director had us do that for two classes. And so we then partnered with them, and we offer a 10% discount for all the teachers of Clark County. Yes, sir, 10%. And the Education Support Employees Association, that's also through our relationship that we have with Clark County. And we're also a member of the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce. These are just a few of the credentials that I want you to be aware of for the company. All right, now as I said, there's only 11 licensed and bonded credit repair companies here that have a physical location, and none of them are a member of NACSO, the National Association of Credit Service Organizations, except Vivix Credit Solutions. So that's another distinction you want to make, okay? Now, this is something that I really, really respect. We show more proof than any company in the business. We have more video testimonials than any company in the business. We have a studio in the back of our office where after you complete our program, we ask, how do you feel about the service? And if you want to say that on camera. And we have so far about 500 video testimonials. That's huge. Lexington Law, these other companies, they don't have that many. Okay? And this proof that you see in these books, there's about 2,000 or 3,000 people in each book, and you'll see them all around the room. And they're back there's books that I haven't even had the chance to finish creating. There's about 8 more back there. And then there's all in the office, and then we have stacks of them in our computer room. Now, why am I standing here? I like to tell people, if you're going to go and speak with a credit expert or a so-called credit expert, they should have better credit than you've ever had. That's the litmus test. Don't pretend that you're a credit expert and you have bad credit, or you've never had an 800 credit score. See, this is what happens.
Right.
And these companies are pretending. And I used to host a radio show for 2.5 years called Help Your Life. I was a co-host, and I would invite other credit repair companies to come to the radio station and let's compare credit. Because you can't tell me if you have a 500 credit score, you're going to educate this gentleman on how to do 750 if his aspiration is 750. Okay? So I then used to go to meetings and talk to people, and I say, does anyone in the room have one of these? And I would pull out my black card. Does anyone have one of these? I have 2 black cards. Right? That's the most prestigious credit card you're supposed to be able to get on the planet. They don't give them to you because you're African American. All right? All right? So I want to tell you that. I'm standing here because I lived it. I had worse credit than any of you in the room. Any of you. And now I believe I have better credit than 99% of the clients that show up. Well, there's a captive audience. Most people come here have challenge credit, so that's why I would. But when I also go out and talk to people in groups, at casinos, mortgage companies, I pull out my black card and I say, does anyone in the room have one? I have 2. Okay? So that's one of the reasons why I'm standing here. The second, I have a system that I give to every talk, I give away with every talk I do, which is the 40 days of service, change your life. That right there is about 25 clients on a video that I hand out, okay? And it talks about our services, about 15 or 20 Google reviews on that system as well. And I give that out to everyone that I go out and talk to, business owners. I created a book here. I wrote this book, Creating Customers for Life. Most of our clients that come here are business owners. And they're having challenges creating customers. And I wrote that book to help them. It's in Barnes & Noble and Amazon. Okay? But this book here, my second book, this is one I'm most proud of. From Homeless to Blackcards. From Homeless to Blackcards. When I moved to Vegas, I was homeless. I moved from the East Coast. I was trying to change my life. I took a one-way trip here with a pair of jeans that I took back to Northwoods to get the ticket for the flight. And when I got here, I didn't have a plan. I just kind of wanted to reset. I wasn't running from any trouble or anything. I just wanted to get away and start all over. And I'll give you a little history on me. I used to own a company. It was a modeling agency. It was promotion work that I was doing. I was making about $15,000 a day from Tuesday to Sunday. I did that for about 4 years. I was living in a penthouse on Wisconsin Avenue. I had all the trappings of success. I was young. I had a young daughter on the way, and as my daughter got older, my father and my grandfather started turning their backs on me. They were my two heroes, my father and my grandfather. My father was a pastor of a church. He was a baggage boy during the day from Monday through Saturday at a grocery store. He bagged groceries. And then on Sundays, he would go and teach the church. And then my grandfather was a pastor of a church. So I came from a line of pastors. And I was the youngest of 4 boys. My 3 elder brothers, one went into service at 18 and never returned home because we were so impoverished. He had nothing else to come back to. And then my 2 brothers above me were drug addicts. Yes.
What part of the East Coast are you from?
Virginia Beach. I'm a country boy. And my 2 brothers nearest me were drug addicts. So my mother thought, well, wow, I got to keep him close. So I had a little, soft edge about me, because my mom kept me so close. I was her last born. And when I was about 6 years old, my father took ill. He had multiple sclerosis, and he couldn't work anymore. He was wheelchair bound. So my mom, who was just, a homemaker, had to go out and get a job. So the first job she got was to be a housekeeper for a doctor. And she would take me along with her every day, and I would go to this 12,000 square foot house on the beach, about 50 yards from the water, and it was, 9 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, and here my mom and my 3 brothers, we lived in an apartment the size of this conference room. And it opened my mind up, and I was like, wow, how do we live where we live and they live here? Okay? And the doctor always took a liking to me because he didn't have any boys. He had 6 girls. And so when I showed up, there was a man in the house. So he would always take me to his library, to the study, and talk with me. And the first question he would ask me is, what do you want to be when you get older? What do you want to be? And the first thing I said was, I want to be a manager of a grocery store. Because my dad was the baggage boy for about 18 years. He never got promoted. So I said, I want to be a manager of a grocery store. I thought I would do right by my father. I didn't want to be a preacher, but I wanted to be a manager of a grocery store. So he said to me, of course you can do better than that. And I felt slighted because I felt that he was talking against my hero, my dad. And so for a while, I couldn't really bond with him because I just felt that he didn't respect my dad. But I had to go there with my mother, and I had to play nice, because she taught me that all the way there. Be nice. Don't put anything in your pocket. Don't take anything as yours every day. And so finally he started working on me. He started taking me to play tennis with him. He started taking me to the country club. He started teaching me how to dress, teaching me how to sit at the table, and what forks were for what, and what spoons were for what. He started teaching me things to read. And so somehow that changed me a little bit. It changed my trajectory, and I knew it changed me because I started going back home saying, when people asked me, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a doctor. I didn't put my dad down. I just said I want to be a doctor because I saw my dad's medical problems, and I thought if I was to be a doctor, I could help him too. So then my mother got so good cleaning houses with that doctor that they sent her to another doctor's office who was a cardiologist, sent to his house. His name was Dr. Escalante. And I would go to Dr. Escalante's house. Now I got a little bit of Dr. Oden's polish on me. And Dr. Escalante would pull me aside. He didn't have any kids. And he would always take me to the study and ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a doctor. Oh, he was thrilled then. He was thrilled. But I didn't know the 2 men were friends. Right? I didn't know that. I was a youngster. I thought I was putting one over on him. And he would take me out to eat, take me for rides, show me how to cut the grass, little things, right? That my father couldn't do anymore. Then they shifted my mother over to a lawyer. Now she has 3 houses. And the lawyer, they were all friends. He would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a doctor. And he said, no, they got too much malpractice insurance, too much overhead. You want to be an attorney? So I started saying the two. I would go back home to my peers and I would say, depending on who asked me, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an attorney. So it changed my trajectory. So when I got older and I was doing that modeling business on the East Coast, I was worried about my grandfather and my father turning their backs on me. So I would come home with all this fancy clothes and fancy cars and different girls, and they would get up from the Thanksgiving table and walk away. And you know what that means. Your dad, you know, yeah, when your dad or your granddad gets up from the table and walks away, something's wrong. And they never looked me in the eye when they would talk to me anymore. They would just look at me like they were looking through me. And I think because they thought I should have been a pastor. So I decided one day after 4.5 years, I had enough of it. I was burned out. I wanted to try to clean my life up before my father and my grandfather passed. Well, my grandfather passed within a couple of weeks of me getting rid of my modeling agency. And for about 4 years, I tried to reinvent myself before my dad died. I started reading every day, trying to learn some of the things I could use to go and talk with him. And my dad ended up dying, and we never really got to mend that. So I kind of went on a tailspin. I sat in the house reading and doing no work until I got evicted. I lost everything I owned. I'm in the streets. I moved back home with my mom, and the best thing that she could have did for me after being with her for 2 months, sleeping on the couch, doing nothing every day, she tapped me on the shoulder and she said, your dad raised you to be better than this. You're the best thing that came from me. And you gotta go. And she put me out. She put me out.
How did you go from having all that to nothing? That's what I want to know.
Because I gave it all up when I gave the company away, and I spent 4 years just reading every day, and I didn't do anything. And I was living off of my money. I wasn't making any money. Because I was living to get my dad's approval before he passed. And so when I lost everything, I moved back with my mom. And in 2 months, she put me out. So the only thing I had was a pair of True Religion jeans that I took back to Nordstrom's, took a one-way trip to Vegas. And when I got here, I was homeless for 4.5 months, walking the streets, until one day, I got this job. I was looking for a place to use the restroom, walking up Flamingo eastbound, crossing Fort Apache. And the Smith was on the left. I'd been 86 out of Smith for eating grapes and peaches walking around the store. I was living in the park on Town Center in 215. The park was called the Gardens, okay? And so I'm looking for a place to use the restroom, and something told me, an inner voice told me to go into this office park and use the restroom. And as I was walking into the office park, there was a man standing at the door. And he asked me, are you the gentleman that called for directions? And I said, yes, after I freshened up. I went to the restroom, I came back, I was trying to tiptoe out of the building, but there was a glass, clear glass on the conference room, just like this one has frosted glass, but it was clear. And as I was walking by, he was sitting in the conference room waiting for me. He knocked and asked me to come in. I didn't know that the gentleman that called on the phone that he thought I was someone that was calling for a job. And he sat me down in front of me. He said, why should I hire you? That was all he asked me. And because I was homeless, living on the streets, I had nothing else to say. I said, because if you hire me, you won't have to work. That's all I said. And he said, come back tomorrow. That was almost 11 years ago. I've been here since then. My 10-year anniversary here, what I decided to do, and I retired that gentleman. He didn't show up anymore for work 17 months after I started working here. I created all the processes, these proof books. Everyone kept asking the same questions. How do I know you can do it? How do I know you can really clean credit? I created the proof books. Then it was the testimonials online, the written reviews online, they're fake. So we created video testimonials. All right. So I wrote this book because I'm so compassionate about credit repair that I wanted to help people that couldn't afford our services.
How did you get into doing it? I mean, how did you start? I mean, like you say you was out on the street, the guy brought you in, hired you.
Yes.
How did you know all that knowledge already?
Okay, I learned it here. Everything I know I learned here from doing this work.
Oh, after you hired you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I had bad credit when I showed up. Everything I learned from here. Yes, sir.
When you got hired from this gentleman, was it the Smith store? What kind
No, it was this company. It was this company. I was barred out of Smith's. I apologize. I had two options to use the restroom. I could go over to the Smith's across the street, or I could stay on this side because I was 86 out of the Smith, and the nearest business was an office park where this business was in.
I couldn't understand.
My apologies.
I couldn't understand the correlation
Yes.
between the Smiths and then
Yes.
having the guy retire after you took over.
I was living in my mind as I was telling you that, because I was seeing the Smiths and I was walking and I was saying, I'm barred out, I can't go there. So I'm still walking eastbound, and the next office was this office park called Flamingo Trails on Flamingo right there. Okay, Flamingo and the El Capitan. And something told me to go into this office park and use the restroom.
So 10 plus years ago, you came to work for this company?
Yes, sir.
And then 17 months
About
later.
17 months after that, everything, the systems that were in place here, the gentleman said, you know, I'm done, you can handle it. And so 10 years after that, I wrote this book to help all the people that could not afford the services that were leaving the company, that I felt they were going to go out and be taken advantage of by another company, because I knew how good we were. So I wanted to give back. So this book is 46 chapters of the 46 questions, frequently asked questions that I've been asked over 10 years. And I put it all in a book to give it all away. Okay? And here's a copy of the book right here. I changed the cover on it a little bit when I got my Blackcards. Okay? And then this other book, Discredit to A+ Credit, I learned another process, which was to speak the books instead of writing them. So now if you do 2 or 3 workshops, you get the workshops transcribed, and that becomes your book. Okay, so these are the books. And this is the Creating Customers for Life. And then this book was for business owners that were challenged with raising funds for their business. And this talks about how to get business capital. Okay, business funding. All right, let's go to the next one. I have bad credit. All right, many of you won't believe that. And that book is offered to you for free on our website, so that all of you can get it through our Bad Credit We Fix It Fast site, and if you be able to download it there. This is what my credit was like when I walked into this town. These are all the actual credit cards I had in my pocket that were defaulted on. American Express, Capital One's, Platinum Bank of America's. These are all the actual cards that you're seeing there that I had in my pocket that were defaulted when I got here to Las Vegas.
And all those cards?
I had about maybe 15 more, but that was what I had in my pocket when I showed up. Yeah, but those credit cards there. I had maybe 35 credit cards. This was all that I had left of that to show and prove to you guys where my credit was when I started, and that I defaulted on all of these. Okay? Now this is what happened. When I got here, I had a 486 credit score. All right? That was me at a mortgage company trying to buy a house with a 486 credit score. Yeah, they kicked me out. All right? The guy gave me my report and told me to get out of the building. Okay? And between 180 days from when I started the program, my score went to a 715. All right, and then through the Credit Rebuilder program, and as time continued to go forward, my score went to a 745, 628, and a 712. Then, as more time went by, I was at 810, 743, 833, 810. Then I was at 843, and then at 816. This is all the negative credit that I had on my report that this company worked on for me. Each letter in those bundles is a letter in response to this company writing a dispute for me. That's how bad my credit was. I had 49 negative accounts, about 35 bad credit cards, 2 repossessions, a Mercedes where I owed the bank about $70,000, a Land Cruiser where I owed the bank about $20,000, an eviction where I owed my penthouse about $5,500, and then a bunch of utility bills, cell phone bills, and that's the result. And after going through this program, I've been at 800 since 2009. Here's my Equifax. I'm going to prove it to you because I don't want to tell you about it and not show you the actual results. These are the investigation results. Okay? These are results that are in these bundles here. All right? This is my Experian results. You see all the deletions. Everything that's highlighted is a deletion. And that's the same thing that comes in the mail for our clients. Nothing comes to us. Everything comes to the client's house. And then this is my TransUnion results. There was a 6-month program back then. Now the program was 4 months. In 2008 and 9, the program was 6 months. It's 4 months now. All right, you say you have good credit. Okay, that's great. Let me tell you what you need to be afraid of. The FBI says the #1 crime in America is identity theft. #1 crime. You can protect yourself from identity theft if you add a fraud alert to your credit reports. That's all you have to do, and that's free. You can add a 90-day fraud alert. You just call the credit bureau and you tell them you want to add a fraud alert. They sometimes call it a security alert, and it'll be on your file for 90 days. Or if you want an extended alert, you can put it up there for 7 years. And if you're an active duty service member, you can add one for 12 months while you're overseas. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm a little confused there. How can you say you can get this free?
Yes, sir.
Just for 90 days, or then I see 7 years.
Yes, sir.
So how long is it free for?
The short term, all of them are free. Yes, sir. All of these alerts are free. The short term alert is 90 days.
Right.
The extended alert is 7 years. So you have to pick the one that you want.
Okay, so if I call the credit bureau, I say, okay, I want to extend the fraud alert for 7 years.
Yes, sir.
So that's not going to cost me anything?
No, sir. That's free. That's free. But that will cost you some time, because now every time you go to try to pull your credit or to apply for something, your credit file is going to be frozen. No one's going to be able to access your file. So I suggest you not only just put a fraud alert on your file, but also create a PIN number that you can use to open your file, or have someone that's you're applying for credit with be able to open your file.
Okay, so if I intend to go apply for anything, I have a PIN number?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that fraud alert will protect you. Another group of people that you should have fraud alerts on are your children. Your children. You think that because you have a young child that they're not going to have identity theft. Or there's people that will live in your children's name for 17, 18, 20 years until they finally go to pull their credit when they're 18, 19, and 20 years old. And you would think, how did they get an apartment? How did they get a phone bill? Well, I'm going to tell you. There was a few letters that came to my house when I was young that I thought was from some of my friends. And the energy company wasn't my friend. The water company wasn't my friend. Okay? The phone company wasn't my friend. My mother had some bills in my name. And I was a child. Okay, so it can happen. If your own mother can do it, someone that you don't know can do it. And you know that happens a lot. Your parents will use your name. Hey, God forbid, we need the water and the electric. But your parents as well, as they get seasoned in years, you want to put a security alert on their files. Okay, if you know your mom's not going to do anything with her credit because she's going to ask you first, put a security alert on her file so no one can use your mother's name and your grandparents' names. All right? These are some of the recent security breaches. I just got a letter from Wendy's a couple days ago. Excuse me, my Bank of America card just sent me a letter a couple days ago saying there was a breach at Wendy's. And I used my card there. And they wanted to make sure that I was aware of the breach. And these are some other companies: Experian, IRS, Anthem, OPM, Verizon, Wendy's, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Harvard University. These are just a few. The FBI's portal, Home Depot, CVS, Walgreens, UCLA. These are breaches. Okay, so you're right now sitting here with good credit and you think it's never going to be a problem for you. But this is one of the #1 crimes in America right now. What choices do you have if you have challenged credit? You don't have to do credit repair. You can just wait 10 years, 7 to 10 years. 7 years for anything you didn't go to court for. Like a late payment, a collection, a charge-off, a medical bill, those are 7 years. Anything that you have to go to court for is 10 years. Okay? That's a public record. A non-public record is 7 years. A public record is 10 years. So a bankruptcy is a public record. A tax lien, a foreclosure, a judgment. Those stay on your credit report for 10 years. So if you can just figure out the date of last activity of all of your negative accounts, because it goes from the last activity, and you wait out 7 or 10 years from each of those accounts, you'll have good credit again. All right? Or you can file bankruptcy. I'm sorry.
They said that it still stays on your report, though.
Well, you have to fight to get many of them off, because even though there's a statute of limitation, the credit bureaus sometimes are very slow in removing negative credit even after the statute is run. So you have to wake them up and say, hey, there's a statute of limitation on this, I need it removed. All right? You can file bankruptcy and wait 2 years. Okay? Many companies still will not do business with you if you file bankruptcy, but at least you're absolved from most of the debt. Or you can do debt negotiation. This one isn't bad, because you can settle the debts for 10, 20 cents on the dollar, but guess what? As soon as you finish paying that, now it says paid for less than balance owed, and it stays on your credit for an additional 7 years from that date, because that's the date of last activity, which is your last payment.
So what's the best, 7 or 13 in those chapters? Because we were discussing that over by our office the other day. What's the best, chapter 7 or 13?
Well, I can't give you legal advice.
I know, we know that.
You gotta get an attorney on that, so I can't answer that.
Okay.
But, you know.
What would you do?
I did it.
I would not file bankruptcy.
No, I know, but
No,
I'm just saying,
I wouldn't
know that
consider
you're not a lawyer.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider bankruptcy.
Oh, okay.
I would always do credit repair, because bankruptcy, it communicates to your community that you had a mental lapse and you couldn't handle your business, your finances. And so you had to forfeit and tap out. And they keep a residual, data on you for that, even though you file and they say it's been 7 years or 10 years, they still remember. These companies remember. All of them are affiliated somehow with each other, and they keep it in their database. All right? I forfeited on Neiman Marcus when it was Neiman Marcus financing Neiman Marcus credit card. Now Neiman Marcus is with Capital One.
Oh.
I have 800 credit scores. I go to apply for Neiman Marcus not knowing that they're with Capital One, but I also had forfeited on Capital One. You see that? So that's me forfeiting with Capital One in 2001. So Capital One, even though they're not on my credit anymore, and that's past 7 years, they declined me with an 806 credit score. I called them and I said, how could you decline me with the 806 credit score? And they said you had too many inquiries.
Oh.
And I said, how many is too many? They said more than 2. I had 3 after they pulled me.
Yeah, and probably you talking about when you go apply for a
Yes,
credit
sir.
card.
When you apply for anything that, any kind of credit,
But that wasn't it, it was really the other.
it was really, they had a data, they had me in a database for forfeiting on a file many years ago. I will say, I'm a little biased, but credit repair changed my life, and I've seen the thousands of people that it has helped. Credit repair is the best choice. Why? Because if you get something corrected, updated, or deleted from your credit report, preferably deleted, no one ever sees it again. So if you can do credit repair in 120 days, and virtually all of our clients have seen 50 to 90% deletion, or 50 to 250 points increase, why would you file bankruptcy? Why would you wait 10 years? Why would you negotiate? You're not paying the accounts when you do credit repair. You're using the federal law to dispute. And we're going to talk about that, okay? Now, can you make payments on your credit repair services? Yes. Yes, you can. You don't have to pay in full. Actually, it's against the law. The Credit Repair Organization Act says that you must create a payment plan. Okay? That's the actual law that most credit repair companies don't want you to see. All right? What negative accounts can be removed? Anybody? Any account that you think cannot be removed from your credit report?
Student loan,
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you can.
Oh, no, that was one of my questions, like, because there's multiple removals that I'm concerned with.
Yes.
And so I want to know if we can remove them all.
Yes, yes. Let me show you. These are all the accounts that can be removed from your report. Bankruptcy, foreclosure, short sale, late payment, collections, judgment, student loan, repossession, tax lien, identity theft, check systems, early warning. All of these. Yes, sir.
So when you say foreclosure removal.
Yes, sir.
Like for example, I foreclosed on a house back in 2006 or something, when the economy,
crashed.
Yeah. So with that, if you remove that, that's in a sense like paying off a house in a sense. I mean,
yes,
it's gone. The $300,000 that you used to owe is no longer there.
It's no longer there in your report.
Negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then late,
And that's good for you. It may not absolve you from the debt, but it will not stop you from going out to get new credit. okay? And I can show you in these proof books, there's a young lady that had 9 foreclosures. She was an investor. And she said, I can't believe this is gonna work. But guess what? You have 4 provisions of the law. Let's talk about how you can rightfully owe foreclosure, bankruptcy, tax lien, or whatever's on your credit. You rightfully owe it. How can that be removed? There's 4 provisions of the law that give you the right because you saw 40 million mistakes, right? 79% of everyone in all 3 bureaus have errors, and you see the attorney generals, all these people are fighting to get these errors removed, and the credit bureaus rather settle out of court than to remove them, right? So the law came in 1970, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act in 1977, stating that you have 4 provisions, and if the credit bureaus violate these provisions, whatever is on your report that you disputed and they violate the provision, it must be deleted even if you rightfully owe it. And we're going to talk about those 4 provisions a little later, okay? Now, what are your rights? This is important. You got to know your rights. You have the right to do this yourself, to dispute any negative accounts yourself. You don't have to go to a credit repair company or a credit law firm. You can do this yourself.
Is that in one of these? So
that's your consumer credit file rights.
No, I'm saying this
that part there?
Right.
No, that's not in the packet. Yeah, the packet is kind of small because I didn't want to put the whole PowerPoint in there.
Take a picture of some of this stuff.
No, that's fine. I'll email you that. That's not a problem. Just write it down. Anything that you see that you like, write it down and I'll have the office email it to you. Okay. But it is your right to dispute inaccurate information off your credit reports by contacting the credit bureau directly. You have the right to obtain a copy of your credit report. You have the right to cancel a credit repair contract within 3 days. And you have the right, if a credit bureau does not resolve your dispute, to add an explanation on your credit file, okay? Which is to have a comment there next to that negative account. All right? Yes, sir.
Okay, you say you have a right to do all that, but you started off earlier, you started off this presentation earlier saying how they go out of their way to make it difficult to you by getting outside the country.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct.
So just because you have a right, that doesn't mean it's going to happen.
That's right. That's right. But I'm going to tell you some other ways in this talk that you can get better results than those attorneys got. Because remember, that was in 2013. Okay. Some developments have happened since 2013 that's going to benefit you. All right, I'm going to give you that too a little bit later on. That's a good point you just made. And I'm going to show you the benefit now that you can use that will trump the young lady that had the identity theft and all the other challenges that people that are doing it themselves that don't know this fact I'm going to share with you that they're having that you won't have. Okay? There's 142 dispute letters if you do decide to do it yourself. So there's 142 options of letters you can pick from. Yeah, it gets a little hairy, but I'll show them to you. Everything that I say to you, I'm going to prove it. The inaccurate address letter, the personal information letter, the unauthorized inquiry letter, all right? The request for verification letter, the request for verification from a judgment, incomplete reporting credit items, incorrect balance, incorrect credit limit, all right? Update late payments, incorrect account type, date of last activity dispute, all right? That's just one page. Here's the other page. So if you want to try to do it yourself, you need this dossier of letters to start with. I got you there, didn't I? I got your wife's style on that one.
Yes, you didn't really get me, and the reason I'm here, I looked at some of this. I said, I could probably do some of this, but I don't have expertise. So I said, I would rather pay, because just even getting one of these, 2 of these items removed is going to save me more than I could actually save in.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
That's why I said I'll just rather pay the expert to do it instead of me.
Yes, sir.
Because in the long run, I'm going to pay so much more by having that stuff on my credit.
Yes, sir. Look at all of these letters you can have.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Here's the third list of letters. Okay, verification of debt, confirmed debt settlements. All right, so these are all the letters. All right, now if you don't have this list of letters and you're going to try to do it yourself, you just got, it's a steep learning curve. That's all I'm saying. It's a steep learning. It's like having, going into surgery to get someone surgery and you're not a doctor. Yeah. All right. How can I afford a credit repair from on a budget? This is a problem that a lot of people have, and this is the one that hurt me, and that's why I wrote the book. Let me tell you how you can afford it. I told this to clients. There's the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. All right. law here says that if a collection company is calling you without your express permission, meaning you didn't tell them they could call you, and of course you didn't tell them that because they bought your debt from another creditor, and they're calling you because they got your phone number from the file. So all you have to do is record the calls, okay? Record through taking pictures of the call log of them calling you in your phone, and all right, keep the voice messages, and we have an attorney that we can send that file to, and that's why in your packet you have a call log inside your packet. When you get 12 calls from that company, we have an attorney that will take your file pro bono, and they're settling from $500 to $1,500 per call. $500 to $1,500 per call. And they'll take the file pro bono, all right, and they're settling these out of court because this law is so strict that the collection agencies are just settling, and they'll stop calling you and potentially delete the account that they were calling you about from your credit for the violation. That's something else the attorney has been negotiating. All right, this is the actual law right here. Okay, so it's $500 to $1,500 per incident. That's how you can afford to pay for credit repair. But if you don't know that, you're just declining the calls or disregarding the calls instead of keeping a record of them. All right, next thing. My volume went out.
Everyone in the nation has inaccurate information on the credit reports.
Very thorough.
Everyone in the nation has inaccurate information on the credit reports.
Very thorough in the initial consultation.
We found out that 79% of everyone in all 3 bureaus had errors in the credit report.
Regularly 70% with bad credit.
Okay, we have an 8+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We're accredited.
I've never experienced this such a great customer service that they have.
This is so easy that a child could do it.
It was a 518, now you get a 720.
Also, it's been allowed us to buy a home. 57 years old, was able to refinance our house, saving her $600 a month.
I was skeptical of my wife.
He's a certain police officer.
My score is almost 700.
I'm recommending this.
100% of my credit's been fixed, and I'm gonna buy it. My score went up from 200, I was 250 points.
You guys realize who that is right there?
No, ain't he a councilman? Not a councilman.
No, that's Marcus Pfizer. He played with the Bulls. He played with MJ, Michael Jordan. He was $100 million man.
We review credit, reveal the solution, and reverse the curse of that credit.
All right, so that's it. That's the pre-frame for this. These are the 3 steps you must go through if you're going to do credit repair for yourself. You must be able to review a credit report. You must be able to reveal a dispute strategy through those 142 letters I showed you, right? And then you must be able to use those letters to reverse the curse of bad credit. Okay? I'm going to walk you through that process right now. The law is on your side, so you must know that. So when you're going into this, it can happen for you. You just got to go through the proper steps. All right? Now this is the law we were talking about. In 1970, this Fair Credit Reporting Act was created because there was unfair credit reporting. The creditors were unfairly reporting things about you to the world that was causing you to have challenges getting houses, getting loans, getting jobs. So this law came out to protect you, the consumer. And then in 1977, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act came out because there was unfair debt collection practices. So the law was to help you keep these collection companies from abusing you. All right? Let's go a little deeper. Let's review your credit reports. Now, the first thing that most people want to talk about when I talk about a credit report is the credit score. Okay? The credit score that is mostly used is FICO. FICO is a company that was created by a mathematician and an engineer, Fair and Isaac. One was a mathematician, Fair, the other was an engineer, Isaac, and they created a CL company. And what they did was they created a mathematical equation that could be used to determine if someone would default on a loan. All right? And that was the FICO score. That was the birth of the FICO score. The FICO score goes between 300 and 850. The lowest you can get is a 300. The highest is 850. 95% of the institutions use it. So don't buy these other scores from TransUnion, Vantage, Experian Plus, or Equifax Beacon. The banks are looking at the FICO. Okay?
One question.
Yes, sir.
Now hear a lot of people, man. I wonder, what's the real? I'm not going to buy it. What's the difference between the FICO and? Because I hear a lot now about FICO versus credit score.
Yeah.
So what's the big difference?
FICO is the score that the banks use.
Okay.
So the biggest difference is who's using it.
Okay.
Okay. So when you're applying, if you're going in saying I have a Advantage score of 740, and the bank say we use FICO, your Advantage score doesn't mean anything. So you got to use what the banks are using. Okay, and that's FICO. That's the most prevalent score out. Yes, sir.
And that's ultimately what you would help if we was to
go through the program. We help you with your FICO score. Okay. That's why we're FICO certified. We're not Advantage score certified. Why? It's 95%. The highest percentage is with us, the FICO. Okay. Now let's talk about how your FICO works, because you got to be clear on this. 35% of your score is payment history. You got to pay on time. You got to pay on time. One late payment for a person that has a 750 credit score, they can have a late payment of $15 on a credit card, meaning it went past 30 days late. All right? You can be 10 days late, 15 days late, 20 days late, but when it clicks into 30 days late, that's when your credit score will take a major hit and go down. You could lose anywhere between 60 and 85 points for one late payment.
Wow.
A bankruptcy, according to FICO, is 125 to 160 points. All right? But a late payment, if you had 2 late payments, you could go from a 700 to a 500.
That's crazy.
You gotta pay, all right? And then the second component of your credit score is your is 30%, which is how much debt you owe. So they want you to have debt, okay? Otherwise, it would be a 30% score. But how you use the debt is how they kind of leave you at bay. And I'm going to tell you how to use the debt. Then 15% of your score is the length of credit history. Don't close your account, people, because you don't want to use the account anymore. Just put the card away, but don't close it, all right? And then 10% of your score is new credit. You have to get new credit. You can't just keep the credit you have and stop getting new credit, because it won't impact your score positively if you just stick where you are and don't add on any new credit.
It's hard to get the new credit.
You just gotta apply for new credit. Once you get your credit scores up and your credit profile looking well, you have to apply for new credit from time to time. It's just required, okay? And then the other 10% are the types of credit you have. You have to have a variation of credit. Yes, sir.
So, you said to keep getting good grades, so how often, say, once a year?
No, I would just say maybe once every 3 years. You want to apply for something. You don't want to just keep your file inactive.
Okay.
You know, I have 49 credit cards. I have 49 credit cards.
Why?
I'm going to tell you that. That's a very good question. It's going to make sense.
I mean, like,
It's going to make sense. No, not only that. It's going to make sense. I'm going to tell you. Everybody laughs when I say that, because they think only women have a lot of credit cards. No, sir. I'm going to tell you why you need some credit cards. Okay? All right, so let's go a little deeper in the credit score. All right? They say time heals your credit score, because time will also take away the negative accounts. But let's see how something negative affects your score. The first year, 93% impact on your credit profile when you have one negative account. Okay? It goes down after the second year, 6% impact against your profile, your credit. A negative account, 44% against your credit profile after 3 years, 33% after 4 years, and 5 years and older, it still impacts your score by 22%. Okay, so you need to get these things cleaned up, all right? Or you just gotta wait past the 7-year mark, so it sticks with you, all right? Let's go a little deeper. Here we go. Credit utilization. 20% of your credit limit is as high as you could go. That's as high as you should go. If you have a $1,000 credit limit, you should only spend $200 of that limit. When you go higher than that 20%, you start taking your score down. 20% utilization rule. All right? The credit capacity rule, anyone know what that is?
No.
You're only supposed to use 20% of the total number of credit cards you have. If you have 10 cards, you're only supposed to be using 2 of them. 2.
So why do you have that way?
The other 8, you're supposed to rotate through them and teach you how to rotate through them. All right? You're supposed to rotate through those. All right? You want to talk about that now, or you want to go on that later?
Pay off 2 and start using the next 2.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. If you're not doing that, you're going to have inactivity.
So that's how you progress up to 49.
I went 49. Okay, I'll give you a clue. I did 49. The best time to apply for credit cards on holidays. Between November and February. Okay. New Year's is a really good time to apply. Because it makes the inquiry that you had over a year old instead of within the year that you applied. You follow that? If you apply in December, that inquiry from 2016 looks in 2017 like it's a year old.
So in November or December?
Between November and February is when you want to apply. And you want to apply for the holidays that women like. Valentine's Day.
They like all of them.
Yeah.
No, you're not guaranteed you're going to get there.
No, but the banks are open because they want you to be out there. The Black Fridays, you know, the Thanksgiving, the New Year's, they want you out there. And that's when you want to be applying. You don't want to just go, oh, you want 10% off this comforter, sir? No, don't apply for 10% off. Apply when you know you can get the best results, and that's around holidays, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you something no one's ever in here heard before. Ever. None of you. Ever heard this before. I'm going behind the curtain now. Does anyone know what the inactive account rule is? I'll give you a second to think about it.
The inactive, not using your card? That's all I know about inactive.
The inactive account rule. What's the inactive account rule? All right, you never heard of it before, so I got to tell you. That's it.
I believe it is when you have an account, okay, if you're having, you know, like a utilized for a while, and inactive and everything else, and then they will charge you the negative thing because of the fact that you haven't used the card.
Okay, I see exactly what you're saying. That's a good interpretation. If you don't use your accounts, they will either reduce the limits or close them. So I created the inactive account rule. I sent a 1% negative payment to all of my inactive accounts.
Could you elaborate on that? I don't understand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, here we go. So I have 49 credit cards. I only use 2. My black cards. They give me the most notoriety, right? The other 47, I have no balances on. I send each card a 1% negative payment. So if the card has a $10,000 limit, I sent $100 negative. So now I have the credit card company owes me $100.
I do that once in a while.
They have to report to the credit bureaus how you owe, but they never knew that you would send them negative money so often that they would have to report that they owe you.
Oh, I
So how you're not sending them the money at all, or?
No.
So
I have a zero.
Overpay them?
Overpay them all the time. Because if they're negative, you see, he used a different word. I call it negative payment. You can get it if you hear the word he used, overpayment. So if you have a zero balance, send them $100 overpayment. Go ahead.
I didn't know what they did on my card. They put a minus 250.
That's right.
Okay.
That's a negative,
Okay.
that's a negative payment. You wanna do 1%. But guess what that does? It tricks the creditor to continue to send you statements every month saying that you owe them, and they have to report that to the credit bureau, and you get credit for having negative payment behind zero. And the system doesn't know how to calculate how many points you get for being behind the zero.
Oh, okay.
See that? On an inactive account, there is no history being developed.
Okay.
The history has stopped because you don't owe anything, and the creditor stops reporting you to the credit bureau because there's a zero balance, and there's nothing to show that you owe.
No activity.
But when you trick them and send them a negative or an overpayment, they gotta report that they owe you.
Okay.
And they gotta send you a statement. Now, this is how you know when they're reviewing your file.
Yeah.
When they send you your negative payment check. When they send you your refund of that negative payment, write that down, because that is when that credit card company reviews your file for limit increases or cancellations or limit reduction. And when they send you the negative payment, that's when you want to call and ask for limit increases.
Oh, okay.
All right? Because that's when they monitor your report. Every company has their own internal monitoring process. They won't tell you when. Because you'll say, when can I get a limit increase automatically? They'll say, oh, we do it periodically. And you ask them when,